Maa Studies. And for those of you who have been following, we are going through the 1008 names of the Kali Sahasranama. So remember, each week I post the names that we're reviewing in the comments section of this video. And if you haven't subscribed or liked, go ahead and hit those buttons. All right, so tonight we are going over verse 11. Verse 11. So this is our 11th session together. Let's start by doing our Om circle 3 times, followed with salutations and greetings to the Great Mother's Son, Ganesha. Bring your hands to your heart center. Inhale. A second time. And a third time. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Ekdantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Dantihi Prachodayat. Om Namo Bhagavate Damstraya Hasmukhaya Lambodharaya Uchista Mahatmane Om Kromrim Gege Swaha. Jima. So as I said, tonight we are going over verse 11 of the Kali Sahasranama. And Sahasranama is 1008 names. So tonight we're starting on number 74. So if you want to catch all these videos, be sure to hit like, subscribe so that you can follow along through this entire series. So let's take a look at the entire verse for this evening. It has a lot of common themes. You'll see in each of these verses. Last week, the common theme was blood and sacrifice and animals. And this week, the common thread is terrifying and teeth, damstraya, sudantī, fangs and tusks. So let's take a look at all the different names inside of the 11th verse. So it's Ghorarūpā, ghoradaṁṣṭrā, ghorāghoratarā, śubhā, mahādaṁṣṭrā, mahāmāyā, sudantī, yugadanturā. So each of the names individually, we have Ghorarūpā, ghoradaṁṣṭrā, ghorāghoratarā, and śubhā, mahādaṁṣṭrā, mahāmāyā, sudantī, and yugadanturā. So let's look at each of those names and break them down and look at the root word and the deeper meanings. So the first one, name 74, is Ghorarūpā. And we know that from the puja book, they usually say that this means she who is in the fearful form, Ghora, yeah? Ghora itself means fierce, terrible, frightful, fearful or dreadful looking. But they also describe Ghora as awesome, striking awe, but also striking terror, shock. Ghora also can imply being dangerous or violent in the Ugra form. And we discussed the name Ugra previously being the angry form. So Ghorarūpā, we've looked in other classes, Rupa means form. So the Ghora form of Kali Maa is the terrible, fierce, shocking form. Now, what's interesting, and I always gravitate towards the herbology aspects as well, because some of you already know I have a doctorate degree in Ayurvedic medicine. And ghora is an Ayurvedic herb. And it's a medicinal plant called Loofah echinata, or spiky, bitter sponge gourd. The other name for ghora, the plant, is jivataka. And this is a Varechana medicine. So Varecha means it purges from the body and it causes bowel evacuation, essentially. It's also administered for therapeutic vamana, causing vomiting. And it increases the digestive fire and liver function. But interestingly enough, if administered improperly, it causes systemic shock. Ghora, shocking. Improper administration of ghora herb causes systemic shock. As we go through all these names, leave me a comment, let me know that you're here, and let me know what you think about these names as well. Good evening, Louis. Good evening, Kalaratri. Good to see you. Dema. All right. Name 75, ghoradaṁṣṭrā. We already know what ghora means because we just went over it. Damstraya. So the name itself means she whose teeth are fearful. So I went through some of my drawings and I was looking for one that has teeth. And this was one of the ones that I found that had some pretty good looking teeth. She is not finished. This was done in meditation. I ran out of time, but ghoradaṁṣṭrā, fearful teeth. And that's kind of the theme for this set of names: teeth, fangs, tusks, which are modified teeth. So damstraya means teeth or fangs. Ghora, fearful, horrible, terrifying, shocking, teeth. And Kali Maa, we know, is classically depicted with teeth and fangs. Now, they're said to be very piercing, to cut, to purify, to release and liberate us. And, what do you think about when, let's say, we see an animal in the wild bare their teeth at you? Like, what does that mean? Usually we're like, whoa, okay, warning sign or caution. But it also, with Kali Maa, indicates protectiveness and fierceness. So they say that her teeth, being white, bring us the cutting effect to bring us to the sattvic mind. So sattvic is the peaceful mind, and white is usually associated with sattva. And they also say in the text that her teeth are to puncture the wicked and to release us from our own internal wickedness and to bring that transformative power. And sometimes we have to be shocked into change. I've said this before, but as a little girl, I used to always see visions of Kali Maa, and her teeth in particular frightened me. Good evening, Chakrini Ma. All right, so some people have a, I don't know, preconceived notion about her fearful teeth and fangs. They think of like vampires and evil beings, and Kali Maa is by far not evil. I was just getting some comments the other day. I have a new book that's going to be released, and they said, why did you pick such an evil image? And I was like, it's not an evil image. This is classic iconography so that we understand the power behind Kali Maa. So, as I said, fangs are often misconstrued as evil, but her teeth, her fangs in particular, are to eradicate the wrong ways. And we can also see them not only as a warning, but also as protection. Now let's look at name 67. Ghorāghoratarā. Ghorāghoratarā. This is usually understood as she who is auspicious beyond inauspiciousness. So we'll break these words down. Aghora, we already know ghora, which is terrible, terrifying, shocking, hideous, frightful, whereas aghora is meaning not dreadful, not terrible. So the two combined, we have terrible and non-terrible, or auspicious beyond inauspiciousness. Now, ghorāghoratarā in particular means terrible or extremely terrible. And ghorāghoratarā is the Holy Mother manifested as the ability and the gift, the embodiment to take fear beyond fear to non-fear, dread and non-dread. So it forces us to look at this duality. How can you be terrible and not terrible? How can you be dreadful and not dreadful all in one? This is how she causes us to look at our own dualities and see things more for what they are. Now, what's interesting is ghorāghoratarā is a form popularly known that brings the ability to destroy a dharma. So dharma is doing your duty, doing the righteous thing, doing your soul's actual will. So a dharma is doing the opposite. So it's this fierce form of the mother who brings karmic consequences or terribleness to those not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And at the same time, ghorāghoratarā is well known for being extremely loving to her devotees. So it's kind of like having a tough mom, you know? If you're doing the right thing, she's super loving, super caring. But if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then things happen. The thing I love about this name also, and many of the names, is it cross-references also to Shiva. This is one of Father Shiva's names. And Shiva is also known as aghori, which is very similar. And aghori means non-dreadful, without fear, without aversion or discrimination, or one who achieves spiritual enlightenment by transcending society's conventional barriers to focus on ultimate reality of life and death beyond our shock, beyond our aversions, beyond our perception of dread and things that we don't like. Because we know that the mother and the father, both of their goals is to liberate us of the things that hold us back, to liberate us of the things that cause disruption in our consciousness and blocks us from pure consciousness. All right, name 77, śubhā. Actually, it's śubhā. Śubhā. If you look in the description of the video, I make sure to put all the grammatical markings so that you can be pronouncing them correctly. Śubhā. And this means she who is pure. And śubhā, other than meaning pure, means fortunate, beautiful, radiant, the bringer of auspiciousness and spiritual positive outcomes. So here we have terrifying, super terrifying teeth, terrifying and not terrifying, but super auspicious at the same time. The name 78 is mahādaṁṣṭrā. Mahādaṁṣṭrā. Damstraya we know means teeth. Maha means that they're either very large teeth or very great teeth, fantastic teeth. Remember the story that I told a few weeks ago about how the mother was faced with this big giant army of asuras and demons, and she laughed and she roared and she just scooped them up and just chomped them all up with her mahādaṁṣṭrā, her fierce, big, great teeth. And don't forget, damstraya also means fangs. Easy one. Name 79 is mahāmāyā. Maha we know, great, and maya is illusion. So the general understanding of Kali Maa's name, mahāmāyā, is she who is the great definition of consciousness. Now, Maha we know is great, and Maya is the way it's spelled, long A, M long A, Y long A. It is the power in which the universe becomes manifest and the supreme creative energy that brings the universe into being. But when we study the word Maya, it also refers to ignorance, illusion, or delusion. Like, what do those two have to do with each other? So I'm going to go backwards. Maya is the power by which the universe becomes manifest and how the universe comes into being. But Maya also means illusion, delusion, confusion. If we study spirituality in depth, we often learn that prior to the soul coming into this manifest material world, the soul is pure. The soul has perfect consciousness. But when we come down into this manifest material world, we become entangled in this perception of reality. And this is where illusion or delusion comes from. It separates us from our fuller understanding of our spiritual nature. So Mahāmāyā is also the great illusion when humans forget their true nature as non-separate from the non-material world. And when we look at this name, it's very interesting because here we have these names of these teeth and these fangs and this GHORA, terrifyingness. And oftentimes when we see or we hear writings about seeing like terrifying or awe-struck images of divinity, some people are fortunate enough to experience the visions of divinity. It causes that illusion, that separation to suddenly disconnect because you realize that the non-material world is right there. We just have to have a clear enough consciousness to see it. Okay, name number 80, sudantī, sudantī. So she who has excellent teeth. We know that su means excellent or, beautiful even. And dantī means teeth or tusks. So what are some of the images that you can conjure in your mind of Kali Maa with tusks? We know one for sure, Varahi, the boar-headed form of Kali Maa. She's got the big tusks, like Varaha, who lifted the earth out of the watery realms. And so when we look at a tusk, we know that it's a modified tooth, actually. And it's usually indicated for or used for either stabbing or digging. We see them on elephants, boars. What other animals have tusks? Walruses, hippopotami, and what are those weird ocean animals with the big long tooth? Narwhals. I used to think they were imaginary, but they're actually real. All right, so Dantī also is a name of Ganesha, Sudantī, or Ekadantaya also. So Dantī is a name of Ganesha that means one tusk. Well, he's an elephant. He should have two tusks. And if you've studied with me, you know why he only has one tusk. There's a couple different stories, but we're not going to go into that tonight. You usually see him with one broken tusk. Interestingly enough, sudantī also can mean beautiful sickle. Those swords that are shaped like a C. And so dantī can mean a sickle knife, and sudantī would mean that it's a beautiful sickle knife. Or it can also mean razor-toothed saw. And of course, you know me, if there's an Ayurvedic name, I'm going to find it. Cece, good evening. Good evening. So sudantī is also an Ayurvedic healing herb, and it's called snake tooth. How these things all fall together? Well, it's no coincidence. So it's also called Nagavina, snake tooth, and the botanical name, let's see if I can pronounce it, Baleospermum solaniifolium. It's also known as red psychic nut or wild castor, and it's antimicrobial. It works against stomach worms and parasites. It's anti-scabies, so any kind of parasites. It's useful for treating cellular toxicity and snake bites. So again, it's all these teeth and bites coming in. It's also good for jaundice and anemia. So sudantī and dantī. Last name for tonight, number 81 out of 1008, yugadanturā, yugadanturā. And this means she who is beyond all ages of time, or all the yugas. So yuga refers to an era, a period of time, an age, or a cosmic cycle. And if we've studied a little bit about Vedic background, we know that there's 4 main yugas. So we have the Satyuga, the Treta Yuga, the Dvarpa Yuga, and the Kali Yuga, which we're currently in. And always remember, it's not goddess Kali Yuga, it's the demon Kali Yuga. Small, short A, short I, Kali, not Kali. And dantura, yuga, dantura, yuga, we just went over, is an era, a time. And dantura means protruding large, jagged fangs. So yugadanturā is Kali Maa, who with her large teeth and jagged fangs consumes time and transcends us beyond the cycles of time. So lots of teeth reference. Here's one of the images of Kali Maa with her terrifying teeth. I don't think they're terrifying. I think they're quite lovely. Maybe this week I'll finish drawing this picture. Like I said, sometimes I meditate and the picture comes out. I never quite finish it. So let's go back and look at all the names from today. Ghorarūpā, ghoradaṁṣṭrā, ghorāghoratarā, śubhā, mahādaṁṣṭrā, mahāmāyā, sudantī, yugadanturā. So I hope you've enjoyed these names. Every Tuesday night, 6 o'clock Pacific Coast time. And I usually cover one verse. All the names are down in the description of the video. And don't forget, if you haven't already, hit like, give me a hi, and subscribe to the channel so you can catch all these videos. And if you don't catch it live, then you can watch it later on. All right. Namaste, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Jema, Jema, Jema. May the Mother manifest here and now with you in these names and forms in your heart, in your world, and in your mind. Jema.